What time is it?
Tea time!
Oh, yeah.
Feels good to hear that opening once again. This is Trenton on Tea Time. Happy to be back. I know I took a very long hiatus there. Had some family things. As you know, my daughter was born in December. My son's now 9. I have a wedding to plan for next year. Just a lot of stuff has been going on, and I have not been here to give you my podcast, and that I apologize. But I'm back now. I'll be here every week. And it just feels good to be behind this mic again. And thank you to those Nebraska fans that were here for the Oregon game at Autzen Stadium. Thank you for listening. Thank you for reaching out to me. It really means a lot. I started this thing with the focus of eventually becoming a career behind the mic, and some things have gotten in my way. But the fact that there are people listening and people outside of Eugene, Oregon that are listening that aren't friends and family, but friends to the podcast, I appreciate it, and thank you. But this is my first episode back. This is episode 18. I am going to be doing some stuff on the rewind that have long passed since my last episode, and some stuff that are current, and just feels good to be back. So where should we get started? Well, let's get started with the easy part. Baseball. Houston just won the World Series. Great for them. It's a long time coming. SI had a cover back in 2013 predicting that they would win the World Series this year. So kudos to them for getting that right. Me being a Mariners fan, I didn't want them to win because they've kind of been the thorn in the Mariners' hide over the last few years since they come to the American League West. But it was good for them. Nice to see a new face holding up the trophy. Wonderful story. Jose Altuve, definitely deserving of the American League MVP. George Springer, definitely deserving of getting the World Series MVP. You know, I kind of was rooting for Kershaw just because dude's an unbelievable pitcher, and I want to see him in that biggest moment. But still, goes good. Good for Houston. And unfortunately, the passing of Roy Halladay way too soon, 40 years old, a man who did more things for his community than I could possibly tell you on this podcast. And it was sad to hear that he had passed away doing something he loved, which was flying planes at his home in Florida. And he was quoted once on Dan Patrick's show many years ago that when he left baseball, he would just be gone. He would vanish. There would be no big year-long tour. There'd be no ceremonies. Once he doesn't have it, he was leaving, and that's what he did. People kind of forgot about Roy Halladay, even though he had one of the best stretches in baseball history over 11 years, winning 2 Cy Youngs, finishing in the top 5 times, top 3 of those times, and just overall an amazing pitcher. Did it for the Toronto Blue Jays and then with the Phillies, not getting that elusive World Series, but definitely a great pitcher. And I want to give him a couple seconds of silence for his passing. But then let's now move on to a little bit of NBA. It's early in the season. I didn't really get a chance to do a NBA draft preview, but I did say I would take Lonzo Ball over Markelle Fultz. I thought Fultz was a bad pick. Played for a losing team and didn't really make them much better. I'm a Duck fan. I watched him play, and he didn't really impress me. I mean, the guy can play, he can score, but he doesn't really defend. He has the tools. But I thought Lonzo Ball would be the better player. I thought Lonzo Ball would just be a perennial creator, and he would get rebounds. I honestly thought he would be a Rajon Rondo who can shoot threes but not play defense. Plain and simple. That's what I thought he was going to be, on that Rondo level. Because people compare him to Jason Kidd, but I don't know about that. Jason Kidd's an all-time great, possibly even top 5 point guard of all time. But I definitely compare him to Rajon Rondo. He's definitely not as dynamic getting to the rim, but he definitely can shoot better than Rondo could. But I definitely thought he is what Philadelphia should have took. But then again, with the way Ben Simmons is playing, I think they made the right decision going with Fultz, but probably should have went with Jason Tatum. I mean, going into this draft, the two guys I liked the most were Jason Tatum and Lonzo Ball. And I wanted the Blazers to somehow find a way to get Jason Tatum, but that definitely wasn't going to happen. Boston had him in his sights, and Boston wanted him bad. And Boston got him. I mean, plain and simple. And that was the way to do it. But over the offseason, this migration to the West, I believe it's something ridiculous of the top 21 of the top 25 players in the NBA are all in the West right now. I mean, Minnesota loaded up, OKC loaded up, Houston loaded up. Like, there's so many good teams, and who knows, LeBron might be leaving over there. Honestly, he should, because Cleveland's in shambles right now, which I kind of saw coming. That's the problem with not getting these podcasts out. I can't officially say I was on the record when I wasn't. Oops. But nonetheless, that's why I've been an advocate of this before. I've mentioned this before on other podcasts, but we definitely need to go to a 1 through 16 seed for the playoffs. The 16 best teams, not the best 8 in each side. Like that, because the bottom line is there's nothing to say it can't be 8 from the East, 8 from the West when you do the best 16. But the East is not nearly as strong. I mean, we might have 2 losing records in the playoffs on the East side. The worst record in the West last year was 41-41 Portland Trailblazers. And I think we might see one of those and 2 or 3 losing records on the East, which would be insane. But ultimately, that's where I think the NBA should go, is that 16-team playoff. The number 1 team all the way down to the 16th best team. And it's kind of funny hearing all the stories, listening to all the experts, as you would say, trying to predict where LeBron James is going. And honestly, LeBron James, I don't think he stays in Cleveland. I think he does go to the Lakers, maybe Houston. But it's always funny because you always have those articles that come out and it's like, oh, every team's pitch or who's a dark horse and blah, 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 blah. I'll give you a dark horse. But I don't think it should be his permanent spot because I think it's pretty clear Cleveland can't beat Golden State. It don't matter how good Cleveland really is. The way they're set up right now, they're not beating Golden State. They're just not. I mean, the trade I thought they should have went after, because I didn't think Boston would actually do it, was sending Kyrie Irving for Wesley Johnson, Patrick Beverley, and Lou Williams, because you get scoring and defense on the perimeter. And that's what you need to beat Golden State. Because the bottom line, if you want to beat Golden State, you can't beat them by stopping them. Plain and simple. If you think you can go in there with defense so good it's going to prevent them from doing what they do, well, pack your bags because that's not going to work. The only way you truly can beat Golden State, which is what Cleveland did, you have to have good enough defense to slow them down sometimes, but you have to be able to keep up scoring-wise. And honestly, there is one team I think LeBron should try getting pushed to at the trade deadline. And this team should definitely take it, even though they're going to have to give up a first-rounder for it. But I think he should consider finishing the season with the Blazers. And I know, I can hear my friend Emmy going, oh, this is the Trinity home run pitch right here. But no, hear me out. In order to beat Golden State, like I said, you got to be able to match firepower with firepower. And CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard can match Steph Curry and Klay Thompson firepower for firepower on the offensive board. Plain and simple, they can. What Portland does not have is a Draymond Green, a do-it-all power forward. That's where LeBron comes in. Because if you look at how they match up, Golden State can't match up with one guy and one guy only on Portland, and that's Yusuf Nurkic. That guy, when he's on his game, he's the Bosnian beast. And if you think Zaza Pachulia is going to be able to stop him, you have another thing coming. If you think Draymond Green's going to stop him, I have a couple bridges I want to sell you, man. Because the bottom line is he's 7'1", Green's 6'7", and Nurkic has a real offensive repertoire. Back to the basket, front to the basket, range. He can do it all. And Draymond's not going to be able to stop him. This isn't like Draymond guarding Tristan Thompson. And so if you throw LeBron into the mix, you don't need much more scoring. You have CJ and Damian to score. You have Nurkic who can score and defend. And then you have Mo Harkless in there to be a defense. Now you do lose Evan Turner or Al-Farouq Aminu to Cleveland in this trade. But you'll still have Ed Davis coming off the bench. You'll still have one of those two guys, whether it be Turner or Aminu, coming off the bench. You'll still have Pat Connaughton coming off the bench. These are guys who can also apply scoring. And then with Zach Collins and Caleb Swanigan develop, there's more scoring. And the bottom line is you have to be able to match firepower for firepower and slow down enough. Having LeBron play the 4 with that type of unit can be a scary thought. And LeBron, I'm not saying LeBron should do this as a permanent move. You know, I think that would be awesome. But it would be just enough to where he doesn't have to guard KD all the time. And he doesn't have to be the main scorer. He has two guys who could spot up or create. And that's what you need. And then he has a big man he could throw it down to who could score at will on guys sometimes. Like, it's just all the formulas there. So if LeBron just wants to get one crack at a ring with his best chance, I think that's the most logical and most realistic one that he could possibly do. And he controls all that. He has a no-trade clause. If you want to team up with Dame and CJ in Portland and take a run at the Warriors, I think it would be very interesting. I think it would be very possible. And just think, he leaves Cleveland, Boston is all there is in the East to stand in his way. And a Portland team with LeBron can definitely beat Boston. Flat out. It'd make things interesting, to say the very least. But before we move on to our next subject, just a quick segue to Auto Service Express. Tom Radican and his crew are some of the best auto mechanics in town. They're off Mohawk out in Springfield, and they'll give you great deals, and they'll, more importantly, give you great service. Great service, and you don't have to go back because they fix it right the first time. And that's my guarantee. That's my promise. I go there for all my car needs, and they always get what I need done. And I couldn't vouch for anyone more than that. Auto Service Express. Get the job done right. All right, next thing we're moving on to is the NFL. And there's a couple things here. But let's start off with the most, well, they're both kind of in your face, but Ezekiel Elliott's suspension and Jerry Jones. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott's finally on his 6-game suspension. Sorry, Cowboy fans. It should have been from day one. And if I were you, I'd be wishing it was day one at this point, because 6 games at this point is a lot, because you're not a lock for the playoffs at all. So you kind of need him. And I would have rather, gone without him against San Francisco and those teams. But, it is what it is. I believe there's 8 games left in the season. He's going to miss 6 of them, but that gives you a nice home run push at the end there, which you're going to need. And Jerry Jones, shut your mouth. I mean, seriously, just shut your mouth. Obviously, you're upset that a suspension happened. And you know what? If he is innocent, if he never did hit a woman and he doesn't want to be labeled as that, then fight it to the end. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he's innocent. I mean, I thought he was only going to get 2 games and it reduced down to 1, or get 4 games and reduced down to 2. That's what I thought was going to happen. I didn't expect 6. But the bottom line is their policy for domestic abuse says 6. That's what he allegedly did. So they have to give him 6 games. And if you're going to do that, you got to follow the rules. And from day one, Elliott wasn't playing ball, so they were never going to reduce it. And if he's innocent, don't play ball. If it was me and I'm innocent, I'm not playing ball with them. I'm saying, no, I didn't hit that one. I didn't do it. But now it kind of sucks for Cowboy fans, because now you're waiting on Elliott. And, if I was him, innocent or not, I think I would have took the 6 games and kept fighting to clear my name. Take your 6 games, make the NFL the bad guy, and when your name clears, be like, so I sat 6 games, and it's your fault. Make them the bad guy. But that's not what he did. He fought it from day one. He wanted to play. Jerry Jones wanted to play. Now Jerry Jones is blocking Goodell's extension and wants him out of there, and he's kind of a hypocrite. Because he told Robert Kraft during the Tom Brady suspension, the shield's first, the shield's first, the shield's first. Yet he doesn't put the shield first if it affects him, because they ain't winning a Super Bowl without Ezekiel Elliott. They may not make the playoffs without him. And that's the bottom line. But I'm sorry, Elliott's not Tom Brady. And if Brady had definitely a bigger gripe than Ezekiel Elliott did, I mean, deflating footballs gets you 4 games. But nonetheless, he knew when to stop. He's like, you know what, take the first 4 games and be done with it, which is a smart move. And now the NFL looks stupid for it. But you keep fighting it and keep saying what you're saying, and there is absolutely no evidence to Ezekiel hitting that woman. Well, if evidence does come out, you're screwed. Bottom line, you are screwed. And there's no way around it. So you should probably just let it go. But I think he's just going to serve us 6 games now. We probably won't even be talking about it until the next big suspension that will happen next year to whoever knows who. But Cowboy fans, you're just going to have to sit tight, and maybe he learns to play ball and gets his games reduced. Who knows? But the next part of the NFL is the other big thing, Colin Kaepernick suing the NFL for collusion, which I thought was a dumb move if he does want to play in the NFL. He didn't sign with a team, has all of his political views, which is all good and all. And he started the whole kneeling and all that hubbub that it started. And to be honest with you, I've never had an issue with Colin Kaepernick. I actually wanted the Raiders to sign him instead of E.J. Manuel, because if Derek Carr goes down again, God forbid, we have no shot with E.J. Manuel. And that's me being a realistic Raiders fan. But all those of you, is he a top 60 QB? Should he be a backup somewhere? Yes, but he's not. And we don't know for sure why. We have our theories. We have our thoughts. I have my theories and thoughts. But the bottom line is, he could be the one holding it up. I mean, I know that sounds, well, I don't know what that sounds like, but I'm sure you guys are calling me as you listen to this. But Kaepernick had an opportunity in Seattle. And I have some friends in Seattle. And as a podcaster, I have very, 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 very minimal sources to anything. Most of them to U of O. But I have one in Seattle, and he claimed Kaepernick wanted more money than they were willing to offer. And he was willing to be the backup, but he wanted more than they offered. That's what I understood. That's what I was told. And that's why Seattle kind of gave him the out. And he would have been a good fit in Seattle if Russell was to get hurt. And if Russell has to get hurt, well, then he's going to get the money he wants, and he gets to be the starter. But if he wants a certain amount of money, most teams won't pay it for a backup, especially for a backup with baggage, which is what he has. He has all the baggage in the world, especially now. This collusion case, he probably has no shot. Did it make sense for Tennessee to sign him as a backup? Yes. Did it make sense for Miami to sign him as their starter? No. Jay Cutler is a better quarterback. Sorry if I offend anyone on that, but the guy's had Pro Bowl seasons. And he just played for, the Broncos and the Bears. But, yeah, he's not playing well now, but that doesn't mean Kaepernick's going to. And he's been in Adam Gase's system. It makes sense. Adam Gase hasn't worked with Colin Kaepernick. He's only worked with Jay Cutler. So it makes sense to go after Jay Cutler. Should Green Bay go after him? Probably not. They've had a guy in the system forever. Should Baltimore have gone after him? Yeah, but he doesn't play the same way as Flacco. There's more to it than is he just sheerly a top 60 QB. Everyone would love to have a backup named Kellen Clemens who comes in, does his job, helps the starter, and doesn't buy for playing time. Unfortunately, there's only one Kellen Clemens, and he's been in San Diego the last 4 seasons. But Kaepernick has his baggage, and my one beef with him, as old as this is now, but he put up a photo of a sheriff's badge and a slave patrol badge and said, don't forget who they are. Those are the type of things that don't help your fight. So as much as this might be hated by some, Kaepernick has kept himself off an NFL team just as much as anybody else. And he lost people over that. Did I still want him as the Raiders' backup? For my love of my team and my team to be as best as they can be, I still wanted him. But I don't have to like him. I don't have to agree with him. I was okay with his kneeling. I'm okay with the NFL's kneeling. That doesn't bother me that much. Do I agree with it? No. I said last year, it's more what you should be doing is staying in the locker room, like what the Titans did. I think that's what your protest should be. If you're going to protest and you want to get noticed, you can do it without kneeling, which is disrespectful in some people's eyes to the flag and to our military. I have friends and family who served. And if you want to avoid the misconception of what you're doing, then just don't come out of the locker room. Plain and simple. You get your message across, and you're not disrespecting anything. Or at least it would be viewed as less disrespectful. And I'm sorry, not all cops are the same, and they're not slave patrol. It's 2017. I know slavery was very bad, and I'm not here to talk about politics or any of that other stuff. But the bottom line is, you can't, if you're trying to get a cause and get people on your side, that's not the way to do it. It's just not, because cops today aren't slave patrol. Yes, there's bad cops. Yes, there's racists. Yes, they all wear the same badge. But that's why it's more importantly to not all group them the same and not call them slave patrol. Because then you alienate the good ones who don't want to help you, which, in all honesty, the good ones are still going to help you. You can call them pigs, racist, whatever. They will still help you because that is their job. They don't have to like you. They don't have to respect you. But if you want people on your side and fight your good cause, you can't do it by alienating the ones that you want to stay. Yes. Should there be a change? Probably. Possibly. That's not my field. That's not what I know. I know sports. I don't know police. I don't know politics. But I do know, if you want to get your point across and not alienate and not do the opposite of what you're trying to do, don't compare the police to slave patrol. Even if the original police started as slave patrol, they're not now. There's just some racist pricks that have a badge and misuse it. And the goal should be to find them, not call all of them slave patrol. And that's the only thing he's done that I am personally strongly against, because it wasn't right. He lost me there for a little bit. But I can alienate my personal feelings in sports, because sports is supposed to be something to be a fan of. And I would like my Raiders to sign him. Doesn't look like they're going to, but that's what I prefer. All right, before we get on to our next topic, just a quick word. Eugene Hybrid Taxi. Yes, the company I work for. I drive people all day. We're safe, we're reliable, we're always clean. We're the best in town. So you should call us when you want to ride. And if you get me as your driver, Trenton Chalmers, a.k.a. Tea Time, you tell me what time it is, I will give you 10% off. That's right, 10% off your ride no matter where it's to, whether it's just down the street or out to Portland. 10% off. So ride Eugene Hybrid Taxi. All right, our next subject, before we get to my closing subject, NCAA football. Now, we're in our 4th year of the college football playoff, and I love it. It keeps me engaged. It keeps me to it. It makes games meaningful, and I think 4 teams is still perfect. I don't like the idea of putting more teams in, unless it was like 6, but even then, I don't think teams deserve bye in college. So, the college football playoff, if you want to ultimately fix some of the issues people have, because, where does Notre Dame fit in? Should a conference title matter? Blah, blah, blah. All those things that people argue about. The easiest way to fix it is to just eliminate all the anomalies. Eliminate all of them. People say they're tired of the SEC playing cupcakes for their second to last game of the year. People are tired of Notre Dame being able to play whoever they want and not have a conference championship. They don't like the fact now everybody has a conference championship, but that was a problem for the Big 12. Honestly, what you need to do is allot a certain amount of time which you can play your out-of-conference games. And no more independents. Army, Navy, and Notre Dame need to be a part of conferences. Just put it into it. No more. Don't give them a choice. Tell them they're either going to be a part of one of the major Power Fives or they're going to be a part of the Group of Five. And if they don't pick one of the Power Fives, then they're a part of the Group of Five. And they're going to be really in trouble, because I think they need to make it to where all your out-of-conference games can only be in the first 7 weeks. Bottom line. No more of these cupcakes at the end. No more. And make it to where every conference has to play the same amount of conference teams. Because right now, you have 9 for the Pac-12. They play 9. SEC plays 8. ACC plays 8. Make them all play 9. Out of conference games, only 3. That means Notre Dame will most likely go to the ACC since they have a contract there. That means only 3 out-of-conference games that have to be played in the first 6 weeks. And then it's nothing but conference games after that. And then everyone already has a conference champion. Bottom line. And you make it that way. I think Big 12 has 10, so they can still play 9. Then it's all even Steven. Everyone plays 9 conference games. Everybody plays 3 out-of-conference games. Everyone has a conference champion. And no one plays any cupcakes late. You have to earn it. You have to earn it late. No more Citadel. No more Mercer at the end of the year. Which, to be honest, I think only 2 Pac-12 schools play late at a conference, and I don't think the Big Ten does at all. Only certain teams do. And I know the Big 12 doesn't at all, which is how you need to do it. Make it all even. Make it all, you have a conference, and then all conference games. Win your games, do what you're supposed to do. No more scapegoating, no more cupcakes late. Everyone has the same rules they have to follow. No more Notre Dame playing anyone and everyone they want. This year they played a rather tough schedule, but that's normally not the case. Their national title year, they did not play a very tough schedule. But that's just the kind of way it goes. So you want to fix the playoff, and what left of the naysayers and argumenters that you have left, that's how you fix it. Play up. Make everyone on the same playing field. Oregon fans, this is for you. And don't worry, you Beaver fans, I get you next. Give Willie Taggert time. As it was well documented, I was a guy that was with Mark Helfrich. I thought he should have got 1 more year. I understood the move to get rid of him, but I think he should have 1 more year. But stop with the high expectations. Stop with the we're national title team. Stop. And stop bashing Helfrich. He's gone. It's done. It's over with. You have Taggert now. His strength is recruiting, not play calling. He went from Western Kentucky to South Florida to Oregon. He inherited a team that has a target on his back. He inherited a team that plays Pac-12 competition. I'm sorry not to knock South Florida and their American Athletic Conference, but you take the 4 bottom teams from the Pac-12 and stick them in that conference, those 4 teams finish in the top 6 with him. And that's Oregon State, Oregon, Arizona, Arizona State. And more likely, one of them wins it and one of them finishes second. Not to be the asshole in the room, but that's the bottom line. And we're not even going to compare to Western Kentucky's conference because it's not very good. But he needs time. He's a 3-year guy. It takes him 3 years to get better. So give him 3 years. And he has talent at Oregon. For anyone who thinks he doesn't have the talent because of Helfrich, then that means Herbert sucks, Freeman's no good, and our offensive line is slow and fat. All negatives. His guys he got from Helfrich are all athletes and are all very good. We have talent. Because the only thing that's pretty much changed from our offense from last year to this is the head coach. And we now can't score without Herbert. That's not a Helfrich problem. But give him time. Me, the Helfrich guy, telling you give Taggert time. Give him time. He needs 3 years. Hell, in 3 years, do you know how many juniors and seniors are going to be on this team? Herbert will be a senior. Troy Dye will be a senior. Thomas Graham Jr. will be a junior. I mean, think about that for a second. Brendan Schooler will be a senior. Our entire offensive line will be seniors. Think about it. The team is going where it needs to be. It will be a very veteran. They'll have 3 years or 2 years under Taggert going into his 3rd year. Give it time. His recruiting class is phenomenal. The dude can recruit. My biggest fear for Taggert has always been, is he going to be the Ernie Kent of basketball? Which those Duck fans know, guy could recruit anybody. Couldn't develop a damn thing. No Final Four appearances. And what did Dana Altman just do? He just took Oregon to a Final Four, and his 3 stars, one was a 4-star, top 100 kid. The other was a 4-star, not top 100 kid. And the other one was a 2-star out of Canada, and no one knew his name. But we know his name. His name's Dylan Brooks. Meanwhile, Ernie Kent had the best recruiting class in Oregon history with 5-star Malik Harrison, 4-star Bryson Taylor, 4-star Chamberlain Oguchi, 4-star Adam Zahn, And that's just those 4 guys. Also had Marty Lunin, 4-star out of Oregon, very solid player. And he didn't do anything with him. He went to Elite 8. And he only went to that Elite 8 because of Aaron Brooks and Twan Porter. Not to be the bearer of bad news, but getting the best players doesn't always mean you get the best results. It just heightens your odds. But if you can't develop them, notice the only Ernie Kent guy in the NBA right now is, well, not anymore, but was Luke Ridnour. No one else lasted very long. But give Taggert time. Let his recruits come in. Let his system unfold. Let him learn. Let him learn what it's like to play non-scrubs in a conference. I mean, Oregon State, who I'm getting to in a minute, is the current 1 win, only Portland State, which if they had a kicker who could kick it straight, they would be no win. But seriously, Arizona State and Arizona are going to be bowl eligible after only winning 2 and 3 games last year. Pac-12 is higher competition, and it eats each other. It's always been the case. Pac-12 has always eaten each other alive and prevented things. We're going to have no one in the college football playoff this year because of the fact Stanford, with 3 losses, just beat Washington. The conference eats each other alive. Give Taggert time. In the words of Aaron Rodgers, relax. Winning is not everything, and we've only known winning for the past decade. It's not like we have a long story history of it. We have no national titles. We only went to 2. That was it. And those were both recently. But in the last 7 years, we've gone to 2. Not the last 100, not the last 50, not even the last 10. Just the last 7 years, we've gone to 2. Remember that. And now, Beaver fans, I am on to you. Yes, I don't talk about Beavers much. I apologize for that. Mostly because you don't give me a whole lot to talk about, in fair defense. But I like it up there in Corvallis. Used to date a girl up there. But Beaver fans, Gary Anderson. Need I say more? He is gone. You don't have a head coach. You have an interim, Corey Hall, who I happen to like. But Gary Anderson walked away after being on top of the world last year, beating Oregon in the Civil War. You have 2 billboards in Corvallis about how you won the state. Well, winning games is more important, not just one. And he's gone now. But he did you a favor. He left $12 million on the table, which is awfully, awfully nice of him. But that's the only good thing, other than beating Oregon last year, he did for you. And I'm sorry, I wasn't a big Gary Anderson fan to begin with. And to me, the dude's a joke. But I know who you should hire as your next head coach. A guy that's not going to let all the Oregon recruits escape the state. A guy that's not going to let the good players slip by that he knows he can get. Because Corvallis is a very hard place to recruit to. And you guys don't have an identity. Bottom line is, Corvallis is not a premier destination. You're up the road from Oregon. You have stuff going against you. And let's be honest, a lot of players overlook you because of that. You don't get very many top 300 talent. Not to be mean, it's just a fact. A lot of your best players come from transfers or in-state kids. Your last top 300 guy, I believe, was Isaac Samalo, whose dad was a coach under Mike Riley. But this might surprise you. But no, you do not want Les Miles. He will not be able to recruit in Corvallis. Even if he wants to come here, you don't want him. He does not fit. He does not know the Pacific Northwest. He does not know Oregon. He barely knows California. His best times were at LSU, where he had kids yearning to come play for him because of what colors they wore in Louisiana. You don't want Les Miles. You want to hire Mark Helfrich. As much as I don't want him to go there, that is who you should be pressing all the money in the pot for. Everything. That's who you want. Because he gives you what you need, and he will make you better than what Mike Riley did. Now, Beaver fans, you're not going to like this, but you need to accept the fact you're only going to be a contender once, maybe twice every 4 years, depending on how good the players are that you have. That's what made Mike Riley good, because he was able to keep you in it for those times. You're not going to have the recruiting classes to compete with Oregon. You're not going to have the recruiting classes to compete with Washington. You're not going to have the recruiting classes to compete with Stanford. Unless David Shaw, by some miracle, leaves for the NFL, then maybe they'll fall down. Washington State's on a roll. Like, seriously, in the Pac-12 North, you're not the destination. But you get a guy like Mark Helfrich, he will get the players you need. He is the guy who found Justin Herbert. He is the guy who found Marcus Mariota. This guy knows how to find the diamonds in the rough. He knows how to find the right guys. And he has an identity. Move fast, run the offense. Yeah, his defenses haven't been great. But neither have yours. So he fits right in. And he's a guy, you have him be the head coach and hire Corey Hall as defensive coordinator. Keep Corey Hall there. But the guy knows how to recruit the guys you get. Because the majority of the recruits you get are 3 stars or less. In the state of Oregon, 3 stars or less. And then you get transfers. Just to name off some key recruits in Helfrich's time frame at U of O as the head coach. These are the kids he was able to get. Jake Brsarczyk, 3-star, starting offensive lineman. Kenai Benoit, no star. I believe he's 5th in all of college in rushing touchdowns. Joe Walker was a transfer. Devin Allen, 3-star, the world-renowned hurler. Then you have Tanner Cahill, the All-American 2-star long snapper. Obviously not a glory position, but obviously impressive. Jalen Jelks, who's killing it this year, 3-star. Charles Nelson, 3-star. Tyrell Crosby, 3-star. Henry Mondeau, Oregon kid, 3-star. Shane Lemieux, 3-star. Brady Aleo, 3-star. Jacob Breland, who's having a good year, 3-star. Calvin Thorpe-Martin, 3-star. I just named you 3 of the 4 starting offensive linemen from last year. No, I had it right. 4 of the 5. My bad. Vernon Adams, transfer. Yeah, Vernon Adams only played 1 year at Oregon, but he's better than any quarterback you guys have had under Gary Anderson the last 5 years. Jonah Moy, transfer. Dylan Mitchell, 3-star. Lamar Winston Jr., 3-star. Troy Dye, may have heard of him, All-American freshman, 3-star. Justin Herbert, as I said, a 3-star. Brendan Schooler, 2-star. Ratu Malafeo, the big transfer. Obviously, injuries kept him out, but once again, another solid player. Dakota Prukop didn't work out as well as we thought he would, but he was a high profile that Alabama went after, and he was a transfer. A.J. Hodgkins was a transfer. Johnny Johnson III, 3-star. Justin Hollins, 3-star. Johnny Munt, 3-star. Matt Wogan, 3-star as a kicker. Adam Stack, another kicker, 3-star. Aiden Schneider, no star out of Portland that Helfrich found on the soccer field. Those are the guys Helfrich gets. Those are the guys Helfrich finds. All those guys have started. Some of them are still starters. Some of them are All-Americans. Some of them are going to be first-round talents in the NFL. Just picture this for a second. What if Mark Helfrich worked for Oregon State when he found Marcus Mariota? Think about that for a second. He found Marcus Mariota in Hawaii and told Chip Kelly, we need this kid. Imagine if he played for OSU instead of Oregon. That guy made everybody better. That's a program changer. Changed things for Oregon. Having Vernon Adams for 1 year, that dude torched you on your field twice. Imagine if he came play for you. Just those type of players are what Helfrich finds, and he has an identity. So you're going to win games you probably shouldn't. Every 3 years, you're going to have a veteranized team. Who knows? He might be able to get something rolling to where you always have a veteranized team and people just step up. Having a bunch of seniors and juniors starting at all the time, it don't matter if they're 3, 2, or 1 stars, as I just pointed out. Those are all 3 stars, and all those guys are either starting, have started, or going to start. Bottom line, the guy is what you want. He knows the Pacific Northwest. He won't let the offensive linemen, their name slips, but Kirkland's one of them. The Oregon offensive linemen, there's 5 kids from the state of Oregon up at Washington and Washington State starting for them. 1 for Washington State, 3 for Washington. He's not going to let those kids slip because he got he got a lot of them at Oregon, like Evan Voller. People forget about him, but he was a 4-star out of Oregon, an offensive lineman. Taylor Hart was originally an offensive lineman. That was under Chip Kelly, but these are the guys he gets, and he'll keep them in state as best as he can. I honestly believe if you had Mark Helfrich, you'd have a shot at Chase Cota, and I can never say the kid's name, Talafeo or Telfalo. You'd have a better shot at them because they would get playing time, and they know, hey, Helfrich is the head coach. We're going to score some points. I'm going to look good. Bottom line, OSU is catching up in facilities. They're finally getting their money behind the football team. But what Helfrich gives you is a chance. And the guy is a good coach. He's not a great coach. He didn't end up working out like we thought he would at Oregon. But going to a national title is no joke. Marcus or no Marcus, you still got to get there. And it wasn't like Marcus bailed him out of every single game. They blew out good teams. They beat good teams. It wasn't just Marcus. Because if it was just Marcus, why didn't Marcus go to 3 national titles, just 1? Didn't go with Chip Kelly, and that was arguably one of the most prolific offenses that ever step on a football field. That 1 year of Chip. But that's the bottom line. The guy you want is not Les Miles. It's Mark Helfrich. And he can bring you some experience, and you can get him some coordinators. If you like Corey Hall like I do, have him be the D coordinator. Maybe get Gary Campbell back there. You have the guys. He could be successful. He could be a rich man's Mike Riley. Be more competitive more often. Score some points. And honestly, at this point where you're at, it don't matter if you can't stop anybody as long as you can score on people. Imagine if Oregon could score on people with Burmeister. They can't. He's not getting it done. And honestly, Gary Anderson was very reluctant to go after certain guys in the state. He let Tony Dungy walk to Syracuse, and he never offered Justin Herbert. Is he going to get Justin Herbert from U of O? No, he's not. But how do you not offer him a scholarship? The kid could play. You had no quarterback. That's why I said Gary Anderson was a joke. I didn't like him when he was originally hired. I thought it was weird that he would just leave Wisconsin to go to OSU. Doesn't surprise me he would just leave OSU because it's not working, because he didn't get his way. It wasn't going how he thought it would. He did a lot of good for you guys. But as a coach, I thought it was a joke. He put everything on beating Oregon. Forgot that he had to beat everybody else too. But to bring to an end to this rather long episode, first episode back, going to be a little bit long. But I'm bringing up a subject that happened a long time ago. A lot of people wanted me to talk about. Unfortunately, it happened around the time I wasn't doing episodes. But I'm going to talk a little bit about Luke Heimlick, the OSU pitcher that it was found out he was a registered sex offender because he molested a 6-year-old girl. And I have to say, I have to choose my words carefully. I'm not trying to be biased. I'm not trying to be Duck fan ratting on a Beaver fan because he's a Beaver player. And I am biased in a way. My wife, or future wife to be more accurate, was molested as a child. So I'm really against child molesters. Luke Heimlick molested a 6-year-old girl. And I read all these things in support of him. I see there's a standing ovation for him at OSU. I saw he made the right choice not to pitch in the World Series when all this came out. But the bottom line is, I have no respect for him, and he shouldn't be at OSU. He shouldn't be playing college athletics, in my opinion. I don't know how that slips through the cracks. I don't know how Pat Casey doesn't know, even though I do believe he did not know. But he molested a 6-year-old. And I don't want to hear he served his debt to society. I don't want to hear, doesn't he deserve a second chance? I don't want to hear this, there, and that. It's baseball. How's this kid supposed to make a living? I don't care. He molested a 6-year-old little girl. How long does he have to pay for that mistake, you say? How long does she have to live with it? It was not her choice. She was 6. She didn't get a childhood. She has to deal with the fact that now that all this has come back up, all that has, and still floating around because people are wondering, what's Luke Heimlick going to do? Well, I don't give a shit what Luke Heimlick's going to do. He molested a 6-year-old little girl. He didn't pay his debt to society. He got to play baseball. He got to stay out of jail, out of juvenile hall. He had to be a registered sex offender. That's not paying a debt to anything. He still molested her enough to be convicted. Mind you, he wasn't accused of anything. He was enough to pick a plea bargain and be a registered sex offender. So clearly he did it. Innocent people don't do that. And you want me to feel bad for the kid? You want me to feel bad for OSU fans? You want me to feel bad for the poor Oregon State Beavers who lost the World Series because they didn't have their best pitcher? I don't care. He molested a 6-year-old. 6. When he was 15. I'm sorry. I know I was 15 and I could tell you the things I thought of. None of them were the 6-year-old. None of them were even with a 14-year-old. At 15, you're old enough to know the difference between right and wrong. And you know the difference between 6 and a teenager, a high schooler. I feel bad for her. She has to live with this. She has to deal with this. I do not feel bad for him. I don't feel bad for anyone who does feel bad for him. If he's going to go make a living, if he's going to go do what he can with baseball, more power to him. I'm happy he didn't play for the Ducks because I would have serious reservations to not root for the Ducks if they actually let that piece of garbage on their team. And there's a local guy that I listen to here in town, Steve Tannen, on sports radio. And I kind of applaud him because he has more conviction for right and wrong than I do sometimes. As you know, Michael Vick had dogfights, and he gave up rooting for the Jets, his childhood team, because they signed Michael Vick. And I don't think I would do that. I don't think I would go that far. If Luke Heimlick was signed by the Mariners or the San Francisco Giants, I honestly believe I probably wouldn't root for them no more. I don't want to say that for sure because I'm not in that situation, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. But I am not for this kid, not for this guy. Excuse me, he's not a kid. He's 21 years old. I'm not for this guy. I don't care how good of a pitcher he is. I don't care if he's the next Clayton Kershaw. I don't want him on my team. I want him to lose every game he pitches. Because it doesn't matter what negative things happen to him in his life. That girl still has to live with what he did to her. He molested a 6-year-old girl. And it sickens me that some want me to feel bad for him. This is beyond sports. This is beyond Ducks versus Beavers. This is beyond Civil War. And people need to remember, she was 6. I don't know if you remember what you thought about as a 6-year-old, because I don't. And I can't even imagine having to live with something like that. So those of you who asked, what are my feelings behind Luke Heimlick? What do I think? What I think should have happened? I think Luke Heimlick should be in jail. I don't think Luke Heimlick should be playing baseball. And I will not root for a team that allows him to pitch for them on the mound. Till that time.
What time is it? Tea time!